Hi children, how are you? I hope you all are doing fine. So, welcome to you all to my science class, that is the chapter's name is tissues. So, let us know what all we will study in this chapter. So, in this chapter first we will study about the difference between plant and animal tissues. In that we will be studying about the unicellular organism, plant tissues and animal tissues. Then in the plant tissues we will be studying about meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. In the permanent tissue we will be studying simple permanent tissues and the complex permanent tissue. In that simple permanent tissue we will be studying about parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma and epidermis. In the complex permanent tissue we will be studying about xylem and phloem. In the animal tissues we will be studying about epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, connective tissue and finally nervous tissue. Now, in this chapter what all we will study, let us see. In the plant tissues we will be basically studying about meristematic tissue, and in the meristematic tissue we will be studying about simple and complex permanent tissues. In the simple permanent tissue we will be studying about parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma tissues in the today's class. So, I welcome you all to my class. Now, the learning points in the next class will be about the characteristic features of simple permanent tissues like epidermis, characteristic features of complex permanent tissues like xylem and phloem, and also its other special features. In the third session of mine, I will be teaching you characteristic features of animal tissues like epithelial and muscular tissue and its other special features. In the fourth session, we will be studying about the characteristic features of animal tissues like connective tissue and nervous tissue and other special features of it. So, let us jump back to our session today. Before going to know about the tissues, I would like to see what does a unicellular organism do. You all know unicellular organisms are made up of a single cell. So, a single cell, does it breathe? Yes. Does it take food? Of course it takes food. Does it release the energy? Yes. Does it reproduce? Very much yes. Does it throw out the waste materials? Yes. Here you find an amoeba slowly moving towards the food vacuole. The pseudopodia covers the food vacuole and finally it engulfs the food material. So, like this it shows movement as well as nutrition. So, you came to know that a single celled amoeba is capable of movement as well as taking its own nutrition. Now, of course, growth, let us see a single cell, it grows internally to form a huge cell. So, here the growth is internal and not external. Next, you also see that respiration, a single cell, by a simple process of diffusion, the oxygen and carbon dioxide, that is the exchange of gases, will take place. You also see that amoeba is capable of excreting the waste materials again by this simple process called diffusion. So, like this a single celled organism, even if you look at the reproduction, a single cell reproduces into 2 cells or more cells. So, like this you can see that a single cell is capable of performing all the life processes. So, you saw that a single cell is capable of performing all the activities. Then what about multicellular organism? In a multicellular organism, the life processes are a bit complicated. All the cells cannot perform respiration, excretion. So, there will be lots of wastage of energy. So, the cells, a group of cells will specialize and then they will start doing some functions. You call them as tissues. Before that, let us know the difference between plant and animal living organism. Is the tissue organization the same? So, let us see how plants and animals are different from each other. Here if you see that a plant body, you can see a tree standing there, it is firm, it does not move, it remains in one place, and there are so many dead cells in it. Since it remains in one place, it requires lot of mechanical support. Here the plant body is supported by several dead cells. So, here the conservation of energy will be present, whereas in the animals they have constant movement, they are not stable, they move for the sake of food, for mating, for attacking the prey, escaping from the prey, for entertainment, especially human beings, we have movement. So, like this there is expenditure of energy in a high proportion. So, the animals spend more energy and there is very less amount of dead cells. So, this is one basic difference between the plants and animals. We will also see there are further a few more differences. When you look at the growth, in the plants the growth is localized and more specific. If you look at this picture, you can see that in the roots of the potato, they are growing more to store the food. So, in the plant body the growth is specialized into a few regions only, whereas in the animals the growth is uniform. All over the body you can see growth taking place. Next we will see one more difference. In the plants you can see that you do not call plant parts as organs. Do you call leaf as an organ? No. Fruit? So, fruit is an organ, nobody will call like that. They are just parts, they are simple. So, in the plants you find roots, you find stem, you also see leaves, fruits, flowers, buds, etc. In the plants you find only tissue level of organization, further you do not find organ system, whereas in the animals you find tissues, organs, organ systems, etc. For example, here you can see the blood vessels, so it belongs to transport system or circulatory system. Then you find the lungs, brachia, etc. It belongs to the respiratory system. Then it comes to ribs, skeletal system. Next you can see digestive system, liver, etc. So, all these form various organ and organ systems, whereas in the plants it ends at tissue level, there is no organ or organ system. Let us see one more feature, that is plants mode of nutrition is very simple. They prepare their own food by a process called photosynthesis. They require water, carbon dioxide, sunlight and chlorophyll. Finally, they are preparing their own food. Their mode of nutrition is very simple. They prepare glucose which can be easily digested by them, but whereas animals they feed on other organisms, they may be plants, they may be animals, or it may be mixed nutrition, or it may be both. That time whatever food it takes, it has to digest it. So, here the mode of nutrition is entirely different. So, to digest that it requires a complicated system. So, you understood basically that plants and animals have different modes of living. Let us summarize that. So, if you see the characteristic properties, if you see the movement and energy in plants, it is fixed and they conserve lot of energy, there is expenditure of very less energy, whereas in animals for movement is for food, shelter and also in search of mate. So, there is more expenditure of energy. When you come to the growth, the plants have the growth is localized and limited to some regions only, whereas in animals it is basically uniform in nature. And another property, if you look at the structural organization, plants, the structural organization is limited to parts and tissues, whereas in animals it is to organ and organ system. And if you look at the nutrition, In plants it is autotropism, and in animals it is heterotropism. So, you understood the basic difference between the animal and plant mode of living. Similarly, because of that you find there is difference in organization. So, here what happens is, in multicellular organisms, the cells which are similar in structure, okay, they will start performing similar type of function and their origin is same. Such kind of groups of cells which have a common origin having similar structure and function, you call them as tissues. And studying about the tissues and their organization, you call it as histology. In Kannada it is called as Angamsha Shastra, and tissues you call it as Angamshagalu. So, here you can see animal tissues like this, you find the tissues. Next, let us see some plant tissues. So, here you find a group of cells. I have simply presented a sample. One is parenchyma. Here one side you find plant tissues and here you find animal tissues. Now, let us see one small experiment and then go to plant tissues. Now, here I have two jars. In the jars I have filled it with water and I have taken onions of similar size and I have immersed them in the glass jars. Here what I do is, I take care that the onions roots are slightly immersed in the water. Next what I do is, I make a tabulation column and I document whatever I do, whatever I observe. So, after one day I will see the growth of roots and I will note the length. Second day I will again further observe, note down. Again after third day I will note down. Again after fourth day I will note down, but today what I will do is, I will take a pair of scissors, and in jar 2 I will cut the tips of the roots present in jar 2, whereas in the jar 1 I will retain it like that only. So, 1 or 2 centimeters if you cut, and again you start seeing the growth. You see lots of differences. After few more days, if you observe in the jar 1 and jar 2, you observe the jar 1, you observe that in the jar 1 the roots have grown further, lengthier, whereas in the jar 2 you find the length of the roots the same. What may be the reason for this? What did I do in jar 2 that it could not grow further? So, here what happened was, the root tips has a special type of tissue which helps it in growth. So, what is that tissue? So, we will come to that type of So, what is that tissue? That type of tissue is nothing but meristematic tissue. So, how do you do the tabulation? I have shown it here, the columns what you have to do, and then observe and document it. So, in the jar 2 you saw the growth was not present, whereas in jar 1 there was growth. So, what makes this difference? You look here, I have germinated a few seeds, and in the tips of this germinating seeds, the root tip, it contains a special type of tissue called meristematic tissue, which helps in growth of the roots. So, by this we can understand that meristematic tissue is a growth tissue. So, where is it present? If you look at a plant body, you can see that it is present at the root tip. Not only that, it is present at the shoot tip or the apex of the shoot. So, there also you find this, and it is also present in the bud. So, it is present at the root tip and the shoot tip and in the bud. The tissue present at the apex will help it in growing in height, and the root tip will help in growing in depth. into the mud, into the soil. The buds etc., they will help in lateral branches development. Not only that, you also find they are present in the internodal region, that is the place where the leaves arise, you call it as nodes. So, between two nodes you find internodal region. In that internodal region you find vascular tissue present. In that internodal region you find vascular tissue. So, vascular tissue, it contains the water and food containing tissue. In between that you find meristematic tissue. It helps in the girth growth of the plant. So, a stem which was this size, after a few days it will become this size. So, there is one meristem, you call it as lateral meristem. So, these are the different positions of meristematic tissue. So, meristematic tissue, it is a simple type of tissue which helps in constant cell division, and it is found in the growing parts of the plant, that is root tip, shoot tip, buds etc. Then it helps in the increase of the height and depth. You call this meristematic tissue as apical meristem. Then there are three types of meristem. One is the apical, lateral and intercalary meristem. So, meristematic tissue which is present in the bud, it helps in branches and increases the girth of the plant. So, you call it as lateral meristem. Next, it is found between the leaves in the stem, it increases the length of the stem, it is called as intercalary meristem. So, like that you find three different types of meristematic tissue. Now, we will come to the properties, how they are present. So, this meristematic tissue, it has a thin cell wall, it constantly undergoes cell division, then it is compactly arranged, it is closely packed, there are no intercellular spaces between, and it has a large nucleus and plastids or several specialized organs are absent. So, these are some of the properties of meristematic tissue. After a few days, meristematic tissue will organize further and specialize and lose its capacity to divide. That time meristematic tissue will become permanent tissue. So, here they have lost the capacity to divide and they have some specific roles to perform. Such tissues you call them as permanent tissues, and the mature cells cannot divide. So, the permanent tissues, there are basically two types. One is the simple permanent tissue and another one is complex permanent tissue. So, the simple permanent tissues, they still have the capacity to divide, but they are specialized and they have some important specific functions to perform. Whereas, the complex permanent tissues, they are specialized, they are dead cells, they are not alive, but still they perform their functions. They may be different types. Whereas, simple permanent tissue, there is only one type, complex permanent tissue, there may be several types. Now, let us come to the simple permanent tissue. So, these permanent tissues, they have a cell wall which is made up of a polysaccharide called cellulose. Sometimes you also find hemicellulose and pectin, lignin etc. You can see in the cell wall these polysaccharides which support, they act as cementing structures, they are hemicellulose, pectin and lignin. Now, in the first simple permanent tissue you find parenchyma. If you look at the cells, you find several cell organelles present. You find mitochondria, chloroplast etc. So, you find lot of intercellular spaces among them. Then this parenchyma tissue, the cells are not very specialized, they are basic tissues, they are located just adjacent to meristematic tissue. So, they will slightly provide support to the meristematic tissue. You also find the cell wall is very thin in nature, you can see a thin cell wall. So, all these cells you call them as parenchymal cells. So, they are living cells, they have the capacity to divide. So, the cytoplasm etc. is still present evidently. So, what is the function of these parenchyma cells? These parenchyma cells, they provide support to the tips of the roots, stems etc. and they help in storage of food, water etc. Then, so let us brief about it. So, parenchyma tissue is found in all parts of the herbs. They are found in soft parts like roots, stems, leaves, flowers etc. It is also present in the bushes etc. And this parenchyma has retained the capacity of cell division. They are not very specialized, they have thin cell wall. Parenchyma are of different types depending on a few features in them. So, you find some aquatic plants, they will be floating. They mainly float because they contain air in it. So, if the air is filled inside it, you call that kind of parenchyma as aerenchyma. So, like that you find in, you can see some examples here, you can see lily, you can see lotus. So, all these are floating mainly because the air filled in it will provide it flotation or buoyancy, and hence they can prepare their own food by exposing themselves to sunlight. You can see one more pistia is present here. So, all these plants, they float mainly because of the air collected in it. So, let us see what are the functions of this aerenchyma. So, parenchyma filled with air found in the leaves of aquatic plants help in floating of the leaves. So, they can prepare food. Hence, they are called as aerenchyma. Now, there is another special type of parenchyma wherein the cells will contain chlorophyll inside chloroplast. So, these chloroplasts help in preparation of the food. Then such a kind of parenchyma you call them as chlorenchyma. So, this parenchyma helps in absorbing water, stores water and food, helps in binding the tissues, and the parenchyma found in leaves have chloroplast and hence help in photosynthesis. They are called as chlorenchyma tissue. So, you understood the two different types of parenchyma. Now, we will come to chlorenchyma. If you look at the cells, you can see they have thick cell wall. So, that cell wall is mainly because of a polysaccharide called pectin. This pectin helps in mechanical support to parenchyma tissue. It is found in the leaves, veins of the leaves etc. Now, this you can see here, it is concentrated in the corners. So, it helps in support. So, it provides mechanical support. Let us see the function. Here the cells are living and still have retained the capacity to divide, and the cells of the tissue are irregularly thickened at the corners. Next, this chlorenchyma tissue has very little intercellular spaces. The cell wall is made up of hemicellulose, pectin, cellulose etc. So, what are the functions? Means they are present in the flexible bending parts like leaf, stem etc. So, since they are flexible, the branches do not break. So, they provide mechanical support to the plants. They are found in the leaf stalks below the epidermis, supporting the leaves. So, next we will come to sclerenchyma tissue. So, the sclerenchyma cells, you can see the cells, the cell wall is very thick. Initially they will be alive later on they will become dead. So, these cells which are dead, they will we call them as sclerites, and these sclerites, where are they present? They are present in the shells of the coconut, they are present in the husk, you find in the cashew nut seeds, they are very hard, you can find in seeds and seed coats. So, not only in those places. So, let us see some of the properties of this sclerenchyma. So, initially they are alive, the cells after attaining maturity they will die. So, they have long and narrow cells, the cell wall is thickened by lignin, this acts as cement and hardens the cells. Then sclerenchyma tissue, it has no intracellular spaces, it is present surrounding vascular bundles in the veins of leaves and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts. Now, if you look at the functions of sclerenchyma tissue, they provide strength to the plant parts. There is a small activity to you select a plant and identify the location of various tissues and also discuss the importance of these tissues in those parts. And then now the time for you to think and answer. So, where do you find meristematic tissues that help in increasing the height and depth of the plants? So, think and answer. Let us see what your answer is. Of course, your answer is shoot tip, root tip and the buds. Next question. The girth of the plant increases with the help of a meristem. Which is the meristem? So, think and answer. Yes, the answer is lateral meristem. Next, we will go to a few quiz questions. Let us see. The tissue that gives support to the leaves are parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma and epidermis. So, the correct answer is collenchyma. Next question. The absence of this tissue will not allow it to perform photosynthesis. So, the options are xylem, chlorenchyma, phloem, epidermis. So, the correct answer is chlorenchyma. Here I have shown you a plant body. I will mark these plant bodies and you should tell me which kind of meristem is present here. So, here in the root tip and the shoot tip, what kind of meristem is present? Very good. There you find apical meristem. Next, in the internodal region between the two leaves, name the meristem. Very good. You find intercalary meristem. Now, here you find in the stem, name the tissue which helps in the growth of the stem. Very good, it is lateral meristem. Next, between the two nodes, name the meristematic tissue. Very good, it is intercalary meristem. Okay, my dear students, today in the plant and animal tissues, we studied about meristematic tissue, parenchyma tissue, collenchyma tissue and finally sclerenchyma tissue. So, once again thank you very much.